The cameras flashed, the crowd froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine being 10 years old, stepping into the glaring spotlight as this super-powered telekinetic phenomenon. The world is just instantly at your feet.
Right, overnight.
Exactly. But as the years go by, you slowly discover a pretty harsh reality. The hardest monsters to fight aren't hiding in the Upside Down. They are right here in the real world. Today, we are focusing our lens on a headline that has everyone talking. Millie Bobby Brown opens up about her toughest chapter.
It is a heavy one.
It really is. Welcome to Starscope Report. For those of you tuning in right now, consider this your ultimate briefing. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
We really do. And we are pulling from a massive stack of sources to break down this story today. We've got reports from Variety, TMZ, British Vogue, alongside some really raw audio from the Happy, Sad, Confused, and Not Gonna Lie podcasts.
Yeah, that audio is intense.
It is. Our mission here is to unpack the emotional fallout, the actual documented backstage tensions, and this intense public scrutiny that Millie faced following the finale of the decade-defining series Stranger Things. Because when the biggest show on television finally wrapped, it didn't bring this young star relief.
At all.
No. It brought what she specifically categorized as a, quote, slight depression.
Which is wild to think about because the timeline here is what makes this so intense. The final episode of Stranger Things Season 5 dropped on New Year's Eve 2025.
Right.
You had fans all over the globe throwing watch parties, just celebrating this massive cultural event. But the person at the absolute center of it was having a completely different experience. I mean, think about it. Millie started playing 11 at age 10. She's 22 now.
That is 12 years.
12 years. You are talking about someone who spent more consecutive hours growing up alongside a film crew and a cast than she did eating dinner with her own biological family.
Which perfectly explains the reaction she had. She detailed this during a live recording of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with Josh Horowitz. This was at the 92nd Street Y.
Yeah, I watched that clip.
She is normally someone who describes herself as very happy-go-lucky. So this sudden, heavy emotional crash just completely derailed her. She spent that entire month of January sitting on a breathtakingly beautiful beach. But she wasn't, relaxing or celebrating.
No, she was...
She was sitting there crying every single day, just entirely overwhelmed by the reality of saying goodbye.
And that profound grief, it turned into this frantic panic to reconnect. According to TMZ, she started frantically reaching out to her co-stars. Noah Schnapp, Gat Matarazzo, Finn Wolfhard, Joe Keery, Sadie Sink, Caleb McLaughlin, all of them.
The whole core group.
Yeah. She was calling and texting them in a state of sheer panic, asking things like, "We're still friends, right? You're not going to stop talking to me anymore."
Which breaks your heart.
It totally does. She was even preemptively apologizing for things that hadn't even happened, telling them, "I'm sorry if I ever upset you. You're my sibling."
The psychology behind that reaction is fascinating, especially when you look at how identity formation works under extreme, isolated conditions.
Right.
When a massive life structure dissolves overnight, whether that's a military deployment, a long-term immersive career, or in this case, a decade-long television production, the immediate trauma response is to cling to the shared survivors.
Wow, survivors. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, because for 12 years, her schedule, her geographic location, her diet, and her social circle were literally dictated by a call sheet. When you remove that scaffolding, the boundary between the actor and the character collapses.
Yeah.
She didn't just lose a job. She lost the primary organizing principle of her entire reality.
I think anyone who has ever gone through a massive life transition can relate to that sudden, chilling fear of abandonment. It's like graduating high school, but magnified a million times because the entire world is watching you clean out your locker.
That is a great analogy.
Thanks. You convince yourself that the only thing holding your friendships together was just the proximity. And for this cast, the stakes of that separation are astronomical.
Oh, totally.
They aren't just moving to different cities. They are stepping into completely different stratospheres of fame, all with insanely packed schedules and teams of managers gatekeeping their time. So the fear that you will simply be scheduled out of each other's lives, that's incredibly valid.
It is. But that fear of losing connection wasn't just some phantom anxiety born out of an empty schedule either.
No, it wasn't.
It was compounded by the fact that the foundational relationships on that set were actively cracking under the immense pressure of the final season.
Which brings us to the actual reported friction behind the scenes. We have to look at the tension between Millie and David Harbour,
Right, Chief Hopper.
her on-screen father figure. The headline that dominated the news cycle was that she reportedly reported him for bullying, which triggered a formal internal investigation right before production started on that final season.
Yeah, and Harbour addressed this directly in a recent interview with Variety. He framed the situation as a rupture and repair family dynamic.
A rupture and repair.
Exactly. He said that once they cleared the room, getting all the representatives, the HR executives, and the corporate noise out of the way and just talked to each other face to face, they were fine.
Oh, I bet the studio loved that.
Right. He added that they adore each other, plan to work together again. But he specifically lamented that people today are, quote, scared of being human.
See, but Harbour's quote about people being scared of being human really masks the reality of how modern Hollywood operates.
How do you mean?
Well, you can't just have a screaming match with your TV dad anymore. Not on a set that represents $1 billion intellectual property.
Oh, for sure. The stakes are too high.
Exactly. The studio's liability is so massive that the second a grievance is voiced, an entire corporate and legal apparatus is deployed. A normal human disagreement in that hyper-scrutinized environment instantly becomes a board-level crisis.
Exactly. The human element is entirely stripped away by the corporate machine. And while Millie and Harbour managed to navigate that corporate machine and repair their real-life dynamic, the showrunners were actually manufacturing a massive wedge between the cast regarding the on-screen dynamic.
Yeah.
Specifically, the ultimate fate of 11.
This is the secret pact that completely blew my mind.
It's crazy.
The finale left the audience deeply divided, obviously. But it turns out the cast is just as divided. The rest of the actors currently believe that 11 is dead. They walked away from the show believing she sacrificed herself and that her story is definitively over.
But Millie has a very specific reason to hold out hope. She made a secret pact with the show's creators, Matt and Ross Duffer.
Just the three of them.
Just them. After the finale aired, the Duffer Brothers texted her with a very clear directive. They said, do not tell anyone. They pledged to keep 11's true fate a secret between the three of them. The Duffers even went on record to confirm that even if 11 is alive out there somewhere, she does not communicate with Mike in any way.
This is where I have to look at the mechanics of how showrunners manage their actors, because I find this incredibly questionable.
It is a choice, for sure.
On one hand, you could argue it's a genius stroke of marketing by the Duffer Brothers. Keeping the ending a secret from the actual cast guarantees that their reactions during the press tour remain genuinely divided. It's raw and authentic, it fuels the Reddit threads, and keeps the show in the cultural conversation.
Which is what they want.
Right. But on the flip side, it feels unnecessarily cruel. You have a group of young actors who just spent 10 years building these deep familial relationships, actively grieving the end of their childhoods, and you hand them a script that denies them actual closure.
It really speaks to the absolute prioritization of the product over the personnel.
Totally.
From a narrative standpoint, ambiguity is highly profitable. But from a human perspective, looking at an actress who is already struggling with the emotional weight of saying goodbye, isolating her with a massive industry secret only compounds that feeling of instability.
Yeah, that's so true.
The showrunners are effectively forcing her to lie to the very people she was frantically calling to make sure they were still friends.
So she barely survives the emotional toll of the Upside Down. She navigates a corporate HR investigation with her co-star, and she's carrying the weight of a massive industry secret. But that fear of upsetting her castmates, the internal pressure was nothing compared to what was waiting for her outside.
Oh, the backlash was brutal.
So brutal. If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. Because while she was navigating all of this private grief over the show ending, the public was literally tearing apart her transition into adulthood.
The transition from child star to adult actor is historically brutal. We've seen it time and time again. But the modern internet cycle has weaponized it in a completely new way.
It was relentless. Earlier this year, while she was out doing the press tour for her movie The Electric State, the internet backlash reached a completely toxic fever pitch.
It really did.
You had critics, tabloids, and just thousands of anonymous social media accounts hurling aging insults at her. They were starting rampant plastic surgery rumors, heavily analyzing every single photo, zooming in on her outfits and her makeup choices, just tearing her physical appearance apart.
And she didn't just absorb it silently, which is great. She gave a very raw, unfiltered response to British Vogue.
Yeah.
She admitted that the scrutiny broke her down.
Yeah.
She was depressed for 3 or 4 days, crying every single day over the comments. She explicitly labeled the media headlines and the social media commentary as outright bullying. And she was particularly vocal about how damaging that specific type of rhetoric is to the young girls who look up to her.
Her defiance in that interview was phenomenal. She put her foot down and said, I am 21. I am going to have fun and play and be myself.
Good for her.
She essentially refused to apologize for the biological reality of growing up, but the internet wasn't content just coming for her appearance.
No, they never are.
That desperate need from the public to prove she was somehow failing at adulthood bled directly into how they weaponized her real-life milestones. They came for her family, too.
This is where the narrative collides with influencer culture and the impossible standards of modern motherhood.
Oh, boy.
In August 2024, Millie and her husband, Jake Bongiovi, adopted a baby girl. Fast forward a few months, and a set of paparazzi photos surface. In the photos, Millie is carrying a heavy car seat with her baby in it, plus some luggage, while Jake is walking next to her, seemingly empty-handed.
The internet lost its collective mind over a single frame of time.
Completely lost it.
Fans completely attacked Jake, dragging him across every social platform, accusing him of being a deadbeat, unsupportive partner. Simultaneously, they were questioning Millie's capability as a young mom, suggesting she was in over her head. So, Millie goes on the Not Gonna Lie podcast to set the record straight, and she does not hold back.
No, she defended him fiercely, explaining the actual logistics behind the photograph. She stated she was holding the bags and the car seat because she was, quote, 3 miles ahead of him mentally.
Which any mom can relate to.
Exactly. She'd been awake, planning the packing, the travel logistics, and the scheduling all night long. She emphasized that her husband would do absolutely anything for her, but she is a highly capable woman who can hold her own things.
Yeah.
She also shut down the broader criticism about her choosing to become a young mother, saying that having her daughter took her life from black and white to color.
Look at the mechanism of how society attacks young, successful women. It is exactly like playing a rigged carnival game.
That's so true.
Pop culture loves to champion these supposedly empowering slogans. We blast messages about empowering girls and, you don't need a man to do things for you. But the absolute second a capable, highly successful woman is actually seen carrying her own bags and managing her own life, the internet instantly attacks her husband for not stepping in and taking over. It's a massive contradiction. You cannot demand that women be fiercely independent and then attack their partners when those women actually exhibit that independence. It is a game designed so she literally cannot win.
It highlights a very deep algorithmic double standard. The public and the media love the image of the empowered woman because it sells. But they immediately default to policing traditional gender roles the moment they see a snapshot taken out of context.
Oh, absolutely.
For Millie, who is already hypersensitive to public perception because her entire childhood was consumed by it, having to publicly defend her marriage, her packing logistics, and her mothering skills, it's just an exhausting layer of scrutiny.
It's exhausting just analyzing it. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the final piece of this puzzle is how you actually survive that kind of gauntlet. Despite the bullies, the corporate HR investigations, and the bittersweet goodbyes, these stars are charting their next massive Hollywood moves.
They have to. I mean, in this industry, if you pause to catch your breath, the momentum vanishes. Life after Hawkins is moving aggressively fast for all of them.
Let's run down the roster because they are literally everywhere.
They are.
Millie is stepping right back into a massive leading role, starring in Enola Holmes 3 for Netflix.
Yep.
Charlie Heaton, who we all know as Jonathan Byers, is stepping into the brutal, high-stakes finance drama industry, and he's secured a role in the highly anticipated new Peaky Blinders show.
That's going to be huge.
Massive. Finn Wolfhard has actually stepped behind the camera. He's currently directing his first movie. And Sadie Sink just landed this incredibly secretive, shadowy role in the massive new Marvel blockbuster, Spider-Man. Brand new day.
When you look at those projects collectively, the underlying strategy is glaringly obvious.
What do you mean?
Well, these aren't just random scripts they picked off a pile. This represents a highly calculated, desperate need to shatter their child star images. They are deliberately choosing projects that prove their range outside of that nostalgic 1980s sci-fi bubble.
Ah, I see.
Whether it's taking on gritty adult dramas like Industry, stepping into the authoritative role of a director, or joining a massive established cinematic universe like Marvel. It's all about establishing a mature, autonomous identity that forces the industry to see them as adults.
But does that strategy actually work?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. No matter how many Spider-Man movies Sadie Sink does, or how many prestige period dramas Charlie Heaton acts in, will this cast ever truly escape the shadow of Hawkins? We've seen this play out before. Mark Hamill has done incredible work, but he will always be Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe has done the most bizarre avant-garde indie films imaginable, but he will always be Harry Potter. Is Millie Bobby Brown just destined to always be 11 in the eyes of the public?
That is the ultimate blessing and curse of anchoring a generational blockbuster franchise. It provides immense wealth, unparalleled global recognition, and open doors for the rest of your life. But breaking the mold of a character that is that deeply embedded in the global pop culture consciousness takes decades of strategic, exhausting reinvention. The ghost of that breakout role will always be in the room with them.
Which brings us to the real tragedy of child stardom.
It really does. It brings up a very strange, almost unsettling reality about how we consume media. Think about why the public gets so incredibly vicious when child stars grow up.
Why do you think that is?
Well, when an audience watches a child grow up on screen, they view that child as a parasocial time capsule. The public's nostalgia is entirely tied to the actor remaining young, innocent, and frozen in that specific era of television.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
When a star like Millie Bobby Brown steps out holding a baby or wearing adult makeup or demanding to be treated as a 21-year-old woman, it shatters that time capsule. The public doesn't attack them just because of the clothes or the makeup. They attack them because watching a child star grow up forces the audience to confront the undeniable reality of their own aging.
That is so deep.
If 11 is a mother, then the audience is getting older. And that is a reality the public will always violently reject.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.